As I said earlier, the question one spoke to May to the 20th of October. The table speaks to May to September. So almost there is a 4-week, just under a month difference in the time. So the difference is accounted for by about 3 weeks or so. That's what I'm being told. Okay? The other issues, table, and I'll respond, or we can speak after.
In relation to the number of questions that I have, been guided by history in this very house, I've gotten to the understanding that if I ask all 4 at once, only one will be answered, sir, and then I'll be prevented from asking again. Therefore, I'd prefer to ask them individually and allow for the answer to come so that I can ask a follow-up question to get to where I'm going. Based on what has just been said, by the minister, for the 5 months, May, June, July, August, September, we had 5 deaths. And for the 4 weeks or 3 weeks in the first part of October, we had 5 deaths as well. It suggests that there is cause for concern as to what has taken place since September, or the limit of the questions that were asked. The next thing is that we're communicating to the country that 11 cases are at this institution where persons are presumed to have sepsis. No blood culture, no urine culture, nothing was done. Nothing was done. Right? In an attempt to identify what is wrong so that you can administer treatment. That, sir, is not acceptable. And if you think of it, that your child or mine is in the hospital, is presumed to have sepsis, and nothing is done but a post-mortem, the one thing about pathologists is that they don't have the satisfaction of seeing their patients walking out.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. We'll ask the Minister to respond.
Mr. Speaker, I'll give the member the benefit of the doubt that the answers were not so easy to understand, and I had to seek clarification. I am told that indeed blood cultures were done and they came back negative on the 11th, which I had responded to you on earlier. So I think I did respond to that, but I'll say it again for emphasis. So I don't think it's correct to say that no action was taken, because they are confirming to me, the technical experts, that action was taken. Listen, every death is important and is taken seriously. And the system always, I think, strives to improve. So we're not taking it lightly, member. What we are saying, however, which is important because a big issue was made of this, it was blown out as a crisis, and we're saying that it was not unusually high, even though it still represents a challenge, because one child loss, one baby loss is one too many. And that's the approach that we have taken. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, there was an epidemic in our country during this time period. We had the Zika virus going around. There is literature that states clearly that Zika virus infection can lead to stillbirths. My question, therefore, is whether or not any of these reported cases of neonates that died, if any of the mothers tested positive for Zika virus.
Mr. Speaker, once we discovered Zika on the 29th of February 2016, we have tracked all pregnant mothers who display symptoms of ZIKV. I think the last count was just over 600. And the system records these persons and the births would have started September, not before, unless it was a premature child. So the answer to your question, member, is a registry of those mothers has been kept, and I believe that we would have picked up whether or not those mothers were contaminated with the Zika virus. I am not told that they were, but I can clarify that because we have the information.
Mr. Speaker, shall I remind the House that it was said here before that only 20% of those persons who are infected with Zika will display symptoms. That is why I had asked previously that we should test all of our pregnant mothers for Zika, because only 20%, 1 in 5 of the persons who are infected will display symptoms. Therefore, if the only information that is guiding us is that these mothers did not show any symptoms, then we are down a slippery path, because we would have missed 80% of those persons who are indeed infected. And therefore, if we have had persons coming in with stillbirths, yes, the point needs to be made that parents need to book early and go through their antenatal visits, but certainly as a country we would need to also test to confirm whether or not there is a link between the Zika virus and the stillbirths that we are seeing. If it is that, we have said that it is because the mothers transmitted this infection to the child. A part of what we need to do then is to swab these persons who come in with premature rupture of membranes, mean that the water break before time, because they're going to be at increased risk of infection. So my question is, are we now pursuing a policy where persons that present to the hospital with preterm labor, preterm rupture of membranes, where we are going to actually do the swabs on them so that the infection can be treated with antibiotics and we can save the lives of these neonates?
Mr. Speaker, that, as far as I know, is not a policy to test once pregnant women enter the institution. It is something that was
once with rupture, not everyone.
It is something that was discussed. It was discussed, and the technical experts took a position on the matter. So it is not a policy that is being pursued.
Dr. Guy. Dr. Guy. Dr. Guy.
Oh, no, hold on.
Dr. Guy.
I'm not finished.
Mr. Campbell. Go ahead, Mr. Campbell, proceed.
Mr. Speaker, it's a very important matter, you know. I don't know if you are still in the habit of procreation, but some of us are.
Mr. Campbell. Mr. Campbell.
Yes, sir.
You have been asked to, you're asking a question to the minister.
You never know, you never know, you never know. No, you never know. Recommendations for hospital with maternal services. That protocol be established which speaks to all that the protocol be established. Luther, just Luther. That the protocol be established. Come on, gents. That the protocol be established which speaks to all patients in preterm labor and fever in labor to be swabbed and antibiotic treatment appropriately given. That the protocol for administering antibiotic prophylaxis to patients with prolonged rupture of membranes for greater than 18 hours to be changed to 12 hours. These are recommendations that the said minister brought to this honorable house and tabled on the 13th of October 2016. Now, what he's saying now is the total opposite. The point is, the calculation that has been done to say to do a swab will cost $1,500 and that you have to do 80,000 and that's 120 million is wrong. Because we're not asking for you to swab every pregnant mother. It is those who are at risk based on preterm labor, preterm rupture of membrane, and fever. And his own information suggests that that is only about 3% of the cases. Mr. Speaker, we cannot continue as a country where we have known illnesses, we've been down the road with it before, and we don't put measures in place to prevent it happening again. I am asking of the minister for us to look at swabbing those pregnant mothers who come to the hospital with preterm rupture of membranes, who have fever, and that we can then get the sensitivity and administer the appropriate antibiotics.
Mr. Speaker, the member is mixing his pronouncements. Initially there was a call for all pregnant women, and that was assessed, and that's what I spoke to when I answered you a short while ago. A mother, please allow me, a mother who enters the healthcare facility and displays signs of premature advanced stage of giving birth or fever or all of those conditions would warrant a particular procedure. The doctors wouldn't just allow that mother to remain in that state, clearly. Now again, remember, you are at a point that has an advantage. You're a medical practitioner. I am sure that if you table some questions to ask for the specific procedures, I can respond by communicating with the medical practitioners. What I will say in a general way is that I am sure there is a process to dealing with a pregnant woman who enters a hospital with a high fever. To suggest otherwise would be to be irresponsible.
No, Mr. Speaker. Routine screening is actually only conducted in the U.S. I'm asking of him that Jamaica adopts the policy where these persons that come to the hospital, could be any one of us, or relative or constituents, that they come there and there's preterm rupture, that they swab the persons, send the swab to the lab so they can detect what microorganism is there, what it's sensitive to, and the appropriate antibiotic can be given. I don't think that is too much to ask for the people of this country.
Dr. Guy. Dr. Guy.
I can hear, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. Minister, the question that was asked earlier on, and you answered parts of it a while ago, the Chief Medical Officer during the time indicated that the cost to do the screening where all pregnant mothers come into the hospital, or where there were cases that suggest that there was sepsis to be done, would be something that could be considered, but some countries didn't do it. My colleague just requested that it's done. But there's one other area which none of the technocrats have indicated, none of the studies have suggested. And could I ask the minister to indicate, or to ask the technocrats at VJH, whether the team, Minister, whether the team that did those deliveries for those neonates which had sepsis was the same team? Why I ask the question is that it is, even though there is an indication from your staff that all the transmission came from mother to child. There is also the possibility that contamination from the person who is doing the delivery nasally can also, by breathing, can also contaminate. So the question that we have all not asked, or the answers have not been given, was it the same team that delivered all of those babies that died from sepsis?
Dr. Tufton.
Mr. Speaker, I can't say, frankly. But what I'll say is that if you have an average over 5 months of 15, granted 16, 11 were tested negative, suspected cases, that you average at over 5 months, you're getting a few per month. So, you know, the likelihood of the same team in the same state, meaning a contaminated state as you're suggesting, taking place to give 3 or 4 births for an entire 30-day period may not be so possible. But, again, you're a medical practitioner. You probably know more than I. I am prepared to get the information and revert.
I would ask you to minister.
Minister, it is now known from the international figures that our neighbors to the north, specifically Cuba, perinatal mortality rates and so on is getting better. It's one of the best in the world and still getting better. I am looking at question 3 in terms of the number of babies that died from sepsis. And if we define that as diagnosis from clinical acumen, that is the clinical presentation, and diagnosis from laboratory, that is the cultures being positive, I look at on question 3 and I notice that what jumps out at me was that Spanish Town Hospital, the results or number of deaths was not available. And that should ring alarm bells, Minister, right away. How can it be that a hospital which is one of the busiest in the total in the island, and who I suspect students pass through there as well, that we cannot get a figure, a judgment call on how, and Anatobe said there was 1 death from sepsis. How can Spanish Town Hospital not be able to tell us or provide figures to tell us what is happening? Our scientificity dictates that we operate from evidence-based and data-driven information. If Spanish Town cannot tell us if any baby died at all, can we? I could not come here with a paper without somebody in the ministry explaining why the figures have not been available.
Mr. Speaker, if the member was listening to his colleague and my responses, he would have heard that I said 3 persons. It's missing from the document, but I subsequently got the information. So it's 3 members. So apologies accepted. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, time being beyond, it's a continuation. Okay. Mr. Speaker, we'll now move to have the answers for question 12.
That's how it go. He was supposed to ask me. Him gone. Him might look for help.
Mr. Campbell,
Mr. Speaker.
you're the person who asked the question of
Yes.
the minister.
I'd like to ask the Minister of Agriculture to answer the question standing in my name.
Mr. Shibuda.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker. Yeah, I gave them. I didn't give copies for everybody, as is not the norm. I gave them just a few. But certainly to the opposition spokesman, he has his copy. Yes. And the former minister has his copy. They will share it. I'm working from... Mr. Speaker, answer to question 1. How many producer marketing organizations, PMO, exist, and the breakdown by parish? There are 1,002 such organizations in existence. This is further broken down in the following manner. St. Andrew, 55. St. Anne, 93. St. Catherine, 103. St. Mary, 55. Portland, 48. St. Thomas, 59. Clarendon, 47. St. James, 36. Trelawney, 65. Westmoreland, 140. Hanover, 29. Manchester, 140. St. Elizabeth, 132. And that makes a grand total of 1,002. How many PMOs, question 2, how many PMOs have been formed since March 2016? Mr. Speaker, we have a number of PMOs listed. Where are they? No, man, I don't need help.
Question 2, Minister. Question 2, Minister.
No, man. What the? All right. Relax. Relax.
Page 3.
Okay. Since March 2016, 370. Right. What is the relationship? Page. Okay. Page
Members,
4.
please.
Question 3. What is the relationship between the Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries, the Rural Agricultural Development Authority and the PMOs, outlining the reporting procedures and providing information on the respective accounting officers? The Produce Marketing Organization is an organization organized in groups of farmers registered with the Rural Agricultural Development Agency, RADA, to undertake the marketing of members' crops and to supply inputs to its members. The group consists of an executive body to include the President, Vice President, Secretary, Assistant Secretary, Public Relations Officer for Marketing, and a Treasurer. The President of the organization works closely with the Agricultural Extension Officer for the particular area in which the PMO resides. The PMOs are verified by the parish agricultural manager and deputy agricultural manager. In each parish, once registration is complete, the President is responsible to report the issues and/or challenges relating to production in his or her area to the AEOs who work along with the PMO leadership to address the issues. Rather, as a part of its legal mandate, provides technical extension and marketing support to all registered farmers of Jamaica and any grouping of farmers in this context. The RADA also provides services to PMOs as they do other farming groups. Given the profile of Jamaica, there are 230,000 farmers, of which 181 are registered by RADA. They have very little access to finance, insurance, and appropriate technology. And from time to time, it becomes necessary for the government to provide support to these farmers to promote production of strategic crops and to assist in times of national disaster. In this regard, the PMOs would be eligible for such assistance as any other farmer group. When this becomes necessary, the PMO group would have to be verified by RADA as bona fide and deserving of the assistance solicited. RADA, through its parish offices, having satisfied itself, will then direct the group to pre-select suppliers to receive the necessary inputs. Throughout the process, RADA's extension officers are responsible for the monitoring of these inputs and reports to the CEO of the organization. The CEO, of course, reports to the board. From time to time, the RADA Internal Audit Department will make random checks to ensure that the resources dispersed to the beneficiaries are being used in an efficient manner. This report is sent to the CEO. All the reports of these PMO activities are sent to the RADA board. Question 4. The relationship between PMOs and other organizations representing farmers, such as the Jamaica Agricultural Society. There are several representative farmer organizations in Jamaica. Farmers have the right to join any organization. In this instance, farmers are members of both the PMOs and the JAS.
Okay, that's possible.
That is possible, and that is, in fact, what it is. If all members of the PMOs are required to be registered farmers, no. Based on the RADA guidelines, for PMOs to access support, at least 75% of the PMO's membership must be registered farmers with RADA. 75. Listen, and you will hear. The allocations to the various PMOs since March 2016. That's really what you wanted. Allocation. A-L-L-O-C-A-T-I-O-N.
Yes, that's all that word is spelled, but that's what he said.
Since March 2016. And the breakdown by parish. Okay, Portland. The allocation was 400,000, of which nothing has been spent. In St. Andrew, 450,000, of which nothing has been spent. Hanover, the date of this report is today.
No, today is the reporting date. That's not the date of the report.
It is the date of the report.
No, it's the reporting date.
You don't understand English?
No.
You asked a question and you got an answer. The report, the report is as of today.
That's not the question.
But you wouldn't know that.
That's not the question.
What is the question? What is the date of the
Minister
report? And I
Samuda.
said today. You want me to say it again?
Minister Samuda, please.
Hanover, $750,000, of which none has been spent. Clarendon, 800,000, of which 98,615 has been spent. St. Catherine, 1.2 million, of which 199,941 has been spent. St. Mary, 3.3 million, of which none has been spent. St. Anne, $1.45 million, of which none has been spent. St. Thomas, seat of my good friend, St. Thomas, $2 million, of which none has been spent. 2 million, of which none has been spent. You hear me? Today. Today.
Minister Samuda, please address the Speaker and do not address those responses.
Westmoreland.
I will ask the appropriate question at the
Hello, hold on now. Settle down. Settle down. Settle down. Westmoreland. $6.25 million, of which only 1.745347 has been spent. St. Elizabeth. I'm going by parish. If you want constituency, ask the question, but you won't get it today. All right. You must be proactive. You must ask the question properly if you want the answer, but you won't get it today. St. Elizabeth, $9,950,000, of which 5.46853547 has been spent. Hold on. St. Elizabeth is the breadbasket parish of the country, remember that? Oh. It is a breadbasket. And the allocation for St. Elizabeth should be 15 million. Trelawney.
Nothing. I don't get it.
1.750 million, of which 348,600 has been spent. St. James, 1.150, former minister's parish, and he's one of the only ones with these central that have rural areas really. It's 98,460. That's all that has been spent. Manchester, you don't have to know because they don't plant anything down where you are. Oh, you want corner and have no pump. You want corner and have no pump. Manchester, $3.9 million, of which 2.645 has been spent. And I must tell you that the majority of that one, because I looked at it, the Minister of Finance, I looked at it, his allocation is the lowest. The allocations that got the most of the spend was in Northwest and in Central. Manchester. I have a sense of recollection and I have points of interest. Question 7. How are chairpersons selected for the PMO? How are chairpersons selected? PMO members through a democratic process. The same process by which we come. Of course, we don't all come here the same way. PMO members, through a democratic process, select their president for their respective PMO. That is the democratic process. That's how it's done. Show of hands, show of expression, show of ballot, whichever they choose. You talk about farmers, you know. No different from the JAS that have been in existence for over 100 years. The purpose for which allocations and there have been a lot of allegations. There have been a lot of allegations. It's uppermost in my mind. Anyway, come. The purpose for which allocations made thus far were made, and the mechanism for disbursement of these allocations. Answer. It will be recalled that for the first half of 2016, the country experienced severe drought, which impacted on agricultural production from 2015 to 2016. So, although the minister didn't produce as much as is being done now, drought impacted that period. The drought impacted on production, the loss of livelihood, and the inability of the farmers to restore productive capacity because of the lack of insurance and access to finance. Elementary, my dear Watson. Given the growth thrust of the government, which quite frankly we are proud of because it has resulted so far in this quarter to 29.1% growth in agriculture. Coming from what? Coming from what? It is growth on what was farmer. You don't know what that means? Farmer is what you do. The growth is what we do. I don't understand. Coming from what? Coming from no growth? Right. It was deemed necessary to provide vulnerable, affected farmers with appropriate support to restore their production at the onset of a change of weather. Now, weather. Because you have to give farmers support at the right time. You can't give farmers, you can't take corn and throw it on asphalt and believe that it's going to grow. You have to give them support when the rain starts to fall. Good farming practices. Input was therefore provided in the form of planting materials, fertilizers, small livestock, small equipment and tools. Question 9. What monitoring mechanism is in place to ensure that the allegations, you like that one? That was satire. That was deliberate. What monitoring mechanism is in place to ensure that the allocations are used appropriately? Please see the answer to question 3, which I outlined earlier. The AEOs monitor the allocations, and random checks are made by the audit unit on a regular basis. Mr. Speaker, those are the answers to the questions that were posed by the opposition. Because they're too preoccupied with making more allegations rather than...
Mr. Speaker.
Members, I wish to recognize Mr. Campbell,
Mr.
who
Speaker.
will be asking some questions of the Minister.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Campbell.
The member's jocularity is quite admirable. But growing up in the country, I was told that what is joke to you is dead to me. These questions were asked because of concerns that were coming out of the agriculture sector. The concerns were that there was corruption taking place in how funds are being allocated. 2, about the partisan distribution of the state resources. 3, the fact that you had JLP councillors and caretakers that were presidents of these groups that allocations were being made to. The fact that, hold on, the fact that you had even spouse of members who are president of PMO Group, owners of farm store, on boards that allocations are being made to. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, we don't stop there. We don't stop there. At least 4 more years of pressure you're under though. But worry about carousel. Mr. Speaker, worry about carousel. Worry about your visa. Mr. Speaker, worry about your visa. Mr. Speaker, there was also an allegation that non-farmers, hold on. I'm the spokesperson. Learn the rules.
Mr. Campbell, you are not able to proceed. Would you have a seat for a minute, please? Mr. Campbell, would you have a seat for a minute? Members.
Me are the MP, no?
Members.
I'm not a former MP.
Mr. Shamuda, have a seat.
No.
Questions were placed on the table by Mr. Campbell to the Minister. I allow Mr. Campbell, as a shadow spokesman, to make a few statements and then ask a question. Mr. Campbell, I'm going to ask you, you're not going to be allowed to give a speech. We are asking you to, if you want to further clarification on your questions. Other members, please, turn to page 17 of your standing orders and see how you ask questions in the House. Mr. Campbell, you are now to please ask questions relevant to your questions that you put on the table without giving a speech.
Mr. Speaker, on a point of clarification. Mr. Speaker.
The member may seek clarification from the Speaker. Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, it's my understanding that the privilege of an opposition spokesman to make a statement is in relation to a response to a statement by a minister. It is not my understanding that the privilege extends to questions and answers. when questions have been asked,
Do not disturb the member. He is asking if
when
we speak.
questions are being asked, my understanding is that that privilege does not extend in that area. That questions must be asked, period.
The member should be informed that he is correct according to standing orders. But this House has been practicing that where a member asks some questions, that he be permitted to a few points. What we have been doing is allowing every member to get up and give a speech. And I'm going to ask you, so Mr. Campbell, you have made a few points. If you have any further questions, please now ask them of the minister. And I'm going to ask the minister, answer the question without giving more information that you're asked, because it just seek additional questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in relation to the matter that non-farmers have been given allocation, the answer to the question here, when it was asked if persons have to be registered farmers, it says not all. The previous questions that were asked in this very House on the same matter of PMO, to qualify for benefits, an active PMO should be registered farmers under RADA Farmers Registration Program. Those were answers in response to question by Member Phillips from Northwest Manchester. It seems as if there has been a change in policy since the questions have been asked. If you go further to this document, you see old policy and new policy. A change has been made since the questions have been asked, because the minister is well aware that non-farmers were being given an allocation. In relation to the matter of representatives, of the Jamaica Labour Party being president, look at St. Toulis, Claudia Moran Baker. Is he aware that councillors and councillor caretakers have gotten allocations as president of PMO? Answer. Since you want to go down that road, that's the question. Are you aware?
Thank you, Mr. Campbell.
How many councillors do you have? Four.
You know, let me say that not every program. Hold on, please, I beg you. This is important matter. Not every program that is implemented is perfect. It has its challenges. Hold on. RADA, which was put together by the PNP government, is fraught with difficulties, fraught with challenges. You never took time out to set up a proper management system that would reach out to every farmer in every nook and cranny of the country. Now, you want me to quote you some of the practices that happened prior to us coming into office? I will yield to the former minister who said, it's all right, go on, don't bother with that.
Mr. Campbell, are you standing on a point of order?
What are you doing?
Are you standing on a point of order?
Yes, yes.
Are you rising on a
Yes.
point of order?
Yes.
Okay.
State your
Mr.
point of order,
Speaker.
Mr. Campbell. State your
On a
point of order.
Mr. Speaker, the instructions that you, sir, gave just minutes ago were for me to ask questions and for the minister to be as terse as possible in his response to said question and not to go outside of the ambit of the question that was asked.
Mr. Campbell.
I am simply asking
Mr. Campbell.
that he answers the question asked of him. Is he aware that JLP caretakers and councillors are presidents of PMO that have gotten an allocation? That's the question.
Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Samuda.
I have never seen a greater display of pettiness, envy, and covetousness as that member. Where in Jamaica can you go with 20 people and you don't find Labour Right and PNP mixed up in there? Where?
That's why I lose the 4 councillors.
Your head of your organization is an established member of the People's National Party, the Jamaica Agricultural Society, so don't come to me with that rubbish. No, don't come to me with that pettiness. Listen, carry that to North, West, St. Anne and do some work. Do not bring that to me, because I will not respond to that kind of pettiness.
Mr. Campbell.
Mr. Speaker.
Have a seat, Mr. Campbell, please. We have exhausted question time. We have a question from the member from South Trelawney. I'm going to ask her to state it at this time. I'll come back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I'm not finished with my questions.
The member from South Trelawney.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not finished with my questions.
Mr. Campbell, have a seat, please. Member from South
Mr.
Trelawney.
Speaker, on a point of order, on a point of order, on a point of order. I indicated,
Mr. Campbell.
I indicated that I have several questions.
Mr. Campbell, have a seat, please. You are not recognized by the Speaker at this time as yet. If you have another question, you will be recognized. I've recognized the member from Southern Trelawney to start the question.
Mr. Speaker, just on a point of order. Mr. Speaker, the questions were actually asked, Mr. Speaker, the questions were actually asked by the member from Northwest St. Anne, who is the spokesperson in this matter, this portfolio matter. So, and Mr. Speaker, it has always been the custom that the spokesperson be given the leverage and the opportunity to ask the questions, and I therefore urge, Mr. Speaker, that the member be allowed to complete the question, the follow-up questions that arise from the questions that he has posed.
I will answer.
Mr. Samuda.
I'll answer.
Mr. Samuda.
Never mind, I will answer.
Minister Samuda.
To answer you more specifically, I was...
Minister Samuda, we are going to run this house with some order. I am recognizing the member from South Trelawney to ask the minister a question at this time.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Through you to the minister. Minister, am I correct that if there is a farmers group, as there are in many rural areas, where our farmers are not able to manage the written commitments as to what is needed and how the things are going. Is it correct to say that they can elect a president for that PMO that is not he or himself or herself a farmer? That is one. And is it correct to say that 20% of the members of the PMOs are allowed to be non-farmers? Both those questions I'd like.
Well, first of all, remember I answered the second part of that earlier. 25%, yes, it can be non-farmers. So therefore, and the question you ask in respect of getting someone who is not a farmer, but perhaps is a good accountant, an administrator, or someone able to manage the entire management of the group, then it's perfectly all right. But if I may go back to the member from Northwest, he made allegations that JLP councillors were made presidents. That is blatantly false, and that is why I got outraged. When I said he was being petty, and I will not resile from that position. Calling him.
Minister, I prefer you use more elegant language. I would prefer you to use more elegant language than to refer to the member's question as being petty. Mr. Campbell, you have a further question you want to ask?
Mr. Speaker, I have
Mr. Campbell,
several questions.
You have a further question you want to ask?
Several questions.
Please ask it now.
Yes, several questions.
Questions.
Back where we began. Has there been a change in the policy that the members of the PMO have to be registered farmers? If so, when did that change take place? This is in line